State regime media known as Fox continues to panic on air. They're getting weirder and more deranged each and every day. Here's one of their top propagandists, Jesse Waters, who refers to Donald Trump as Daddy now. That's how Fox refers to Trump. They all call him Daddy. And they say Daddy hates leaks. Daddy doesn't like the leaks. Here, play this clip.
Democrats are now complaining that Trump isn't sharing all of his intel with them. Maybe that's because they keep leaking it. Now, if Trump gave Democrats a heads up on Operation Midnight Hammer, they would have told the Ayatollah. That can't happen. Daddy hates leaks in the House.
Daddy hates leaks? What the hell are they talking about? We now know from European intelligence as well as CENTCOM and the Pentagon that Trump's strikes on Iran were not as successful as claimed. Those are the facts. And we know that Iran was likely able to move the uranium out of the nuclear facilities before the strikes took place. And you want to talk about daddy this and daddy that? You know, one of the things that Fox was trying to push now, and they were having their compliant MAGA Republicans on to do their bidding to this effect, is to say the mission in Iran was never about destroying enriched uranium at all. That was never the mission. That's literally what you all said happened. You all used the term obliterated. Play this clip.
Do you have some sense of where the enriched uranium is at this point? Has the intelligence community figured that out at this point?
I don't have a comment on that. I will say it was not part of the mission to destroy all their enriched uranium or to seize it or anything else.
And when you watch Fox throughout the day, and I do it so you don't have to, but I do it to try to call out the disinformation and just the bizarre information that's being injected into the MAGA mush brains of its viewers. They were talking about how great it is that RFK is trying to remove all fluoride from water. And at the end of the day, this is great because Americans may get more cavities now. Here, play this clip.
With the issue of fluoride, Secretary, what has been the response from dentists in America who may be concerned that some children in lower incomes in particular don't get those regular dental preventative type situations where they can go in and get their teeth more indemnified and treated against cavities?
Well, people will still get indemnified for it to the extent that they're already indemnified. But, you know, it is an issue. It's a balance. You're going to see probably slightly more cavities, although in Europe where they banned fluoride, they did not see an uptick in cavities. The issue is parents need to decide because the science is very clear on fluoride.
And then they bring on MAGA Republican Senator Bernie Moreno. And Bernie Moreno, he makes up some fake story about a Democrat saying how great Donald Trump is. Now, if you want to know Bernie Moreno's background and some of the controversy on some of the websites that he was posting on, you can search Bernie Moreno websites and what he was posting on, his history. But he refers to what a Democrat said as the anal of history. He goes, are you all aware of that Trump's strike was and dropping those penetrators will go down in history in the annals of American history? The annals? Play this clip.
Well, they're rudderless. They have no ideas. They have no leaders. But Laura, I'm going to give you some breaking news. One of the Democrats that you just had on your program was in a confidential briefing in the SCIF today and said to General Kane, the operation that you ran will go down in the annals of American history as the greatest military operation ever conducted. A Democrat said that today. What's sick, Laura, is that they then go on TV and do everything possible politically to undermine the administration. This is not what they believe. This is just pure political grotesque behavior. It infuriates me. Look, I'm just going to call it like it is. Maybe I'm breaking Senate protocol here, but look, I can't stand these guys that say something in private and they go out publicly and contradict it only to score cheap political points, which weakens this country and undermines our military.
And then, without any self-awareness, Moreno, Mr. Annals of History Moreno, says, one man should not be able to cost this economy of this country that much because he has personal beef. And you would think he's talking about Donald Trump, but no, he's talking about the nonpartisan chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who Donald Trump appointed. Here, play this clip.
Businesses that are trying to get loans, one man should not be able to cost this economy, this country that much because he has a personal beef with the president of the United States. This guy's term is up next May. I've advocated that he should be immediately removed. We can put somebody in there. If we just lowered our rates to where Japan is, who has higher inflation, Japan has higher inflation than we do, we would save hundreds of billions of dollars.
Then all of the messaging they're pushing on Fox is that the Democrats support the Ayatollah. The Democrats support communism. The Democrats support Ayatollah. The Democrats support communism. You know, it just reminds me of like, remember in Vietnam where, the lady would say, surrender, GI, you have lost. GI, you surrender. GI, you have lost. GI. Remember that? Like, to me, Fox is just constantly brainwashing its audience and saying, Democrats are socialist, communist, fascist, the worst ever. Donald Trump is doing central planning. Okay. Donald Trump is lying to the people and saying that he's going to give them $5,000 Doge checks and he's going to give no tax on Social Security and that you're not going to have to pay taxes. They'll just be an external revenue service. And Donald Trump alone will control all of the economy himself. It's literally central planning what they're talking about. But anyway, here's what Laura Ingraham says. Here, play this clip.
I just do not think the president was telling the truth when he said this program was obliterated.
Right now, we have no final battle damage assessment that would enable us to be comfortable or complacent about what has been done.
How comforting to know that most Democrats agree here with the Ayatollah. Not just about the damage or no damage or some damage to the nuclear program, but about Trump himself.
And I think here Fox gives away the game right here, where Ingraham says, our country's going to be a lot more Hispanic and more Asian as time goes on. MAGA policies work for everybody. They work for you, Laura, because you are a millionaire. What do you make, $20 million a year? And you live in your fancy mansions and they work for you. They do not work for the working class. The tax bill, the budget scam literally steals from the working class to give to the billionaires. It's in the bill. It's theft. If you make less than $50,000, you give $1,000 of your dollars to the millionaires who make more than $4.2 million. So they get tax cuts of $424,000 more. But play this clip of Ingraham. Let's play it.
Nevertheless, I have to say, I disagree with some of my friends who are posting on social media, and they're basically saying, let's just write off places like New York City and LA. They're hopeless. I think that's a huge mistake. The voters there aren't going to leave America. They're here to stay. And the country is going to be more Hispanic and more Asian as time goes on. And our policies, the MAGA policies, they work for everyone.
And Laura Ingraham gets very angry at Governor Tim Walz's daughter because she talks about feeding kids lunch, providing child care, making public transportation accessible. And Laura Ingraham goes, those aren't popular ideas. If those were popular everywhere, Trump would not be president. Play this clip.
I know it might surprise some people, but feeding kids lunch, providing child care, having accessible and functional public transportation, among many other things, are popular policies everywhere. They're popular everywhere.
You just lost about 100,000 brain cells by watching that soundbite. Sweetie, if they were popular everywhere, Trump would not be president.
Okay. So how about them MAGA ideas right there? Then they bring on a guest who calls Zoran Mandami Zohan. Here, play this clip.
We don't really know. We do know that, interestingly, Zohan's strongest supporters were college-educated people making over $100,000, who are now in the column of being anti-Semitic socialists. That's the paradox of what's happened in these elections in the Democratic Party right now.
So did you know the world's richest source of vitamin C isn't an orange? It's the Kakadu plum from Australia. It's got over 100 times more vitamin C than your average orange, but I'm not foraging in the outback, and let's be honest, I'm probably not eating enough fruit every day. That's why I trust Aurora Nutrascience's liposomal vitamin C to cover my bases. It's convenient, it's powerful, and because it uses liposomal technology, it actually gets absorbed up to 90% compared to traditional pills or powders. Vitamin C is essential, not just for your immune system, but also for collagen production, energy, and recovery from stress. Aurora's formula comes in these travel-ready liquid packets that you could rip open and sip. You could keep them in your pocket, purse, or fridge and enjoy them chilled or at room temp. They're non-GMO, gluten-free, made with organic fruit flavors, and taste surprisingly great. And the best part, one packet gives you as much vitamin C as 15 regular tablets without the stomach upset that usually comes with high doses. I've started taking it daily to keep myself healthy and my family too. If you want to give your health a real boost, go to shopvls.com and use discount code Meidas for 30% off your first purchase. That's shopvls.com, code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, for 30% off Aurora Nutrascience's liposomal vitamin C. Shopvls.com.
Brett Baer starts to ask Donald Trump's national economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, what was Donald Trump talking about when he said there was a deal with China? Is there a deal with China? What was Trump talking about in his press conference? There was a deal? I don't recall there being a deal with China yesterday. And Kevin Hassett's like, you have UK, but there were other deals pending. Y'all have been saying that there's going to be a deal every 2 weeks. And what's happened is all the other countries have played you. They realize if you wait until the final minute, they'll get favorable deals because Trump is so thirsty to say he got a deal done. And all the countries can actually exploit Trump's weakness because all Trump wants to do is put out a press release that he did deals. I need to do a deal. I need to do a deal. I need a Nobel Prize. I need a deal. Here's Kevin Hassett. Let's play it.
There is concern about the tariffs. Obviously, Fox Business has the economy shrinking 0.5% in the first quarter 2025 amid the uncertainty. Economists expect the GDP to contract at 0.2% rate. The 0.5 GDP contraction shown in the final first quarter GDP figures is the first quarterly contraction since the first quarter of 2022. So you're saying the growth is going to past this with tariff deals. The China deal is not completed, right? You have a UK deal, but what other deals are pending here?
Right. Well, there are a heck of a lot of trade deals pending. The president mentioned today in this really wonderful event that we had in the White House just a couple of hours ago that we're very close to a deal with India. But, you know, I just would take issue with your characterization of even the first quarter economy, because basically what happened, right, was that there were a bunch of imports ahead of the tariffs. And so net exports gave us this sort of weird accounting trick of a negative number despite a booming economy. And right now, GDP now, which is the best measure of what's happening in the second quarter, is giving us a really almost 4% growth. And all that is happening, I think, because everybody's racing to get their production here in the U.S. to create jobs in the U.S. And they're doing that, by the way, while inflation numbers have gone down. Inflation, by any measure, is lower than it's been in over 4 years. And so the Trump economy is working. And the first quarter number, I don't think, is any kind of a metric of the trajectory of the economy right now.
And here, you even have like on as Fox is covering Donald Trump's bizarro press conference, they go, little details have come out about the China trade deal. Yeah, because it doesn't exist. If there was a deal, it has to be approved by Congress. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? But play this clip.
President Trump is now blaming Democrats for that intelligence report leak as he now tries to focus on closing on some economic wins here at home.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Flanked by everyday workers, the president talking up his big, beautiful bill today.
We'll deliver a record tax cut, a record spending cut, a record investment in border security.
And revealing a new trade deal with China, although with very few specifics.
We just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China. In the China deal, we're starting to open up China, things that never really could have happened.
Then you have one of the Fox hosts, Campano is her name, on the 5. And she goes, the issue with Mamdani is that he keeps talking about handouts. He keeps talking about gimmicks. What do you think Donald Trump's whole thing is run on, by the way? Mamdani is actually focused on sustainable, important things, housing, affordability. Donald Trump's like, we're going to go in Fort Knox and find all of the gold, and everyone's going to get so rich from all of the gold we're going to give you. Or, oh, remember this one? Doge checks, $5,000 Doge checks to everybody. Doge is going to make so much money for you. You're going to get $5,000. That's what's called a gimmick. But do you see how Fox tries to insulate Trump and its own protection of the oligarchy and billionaires by doing it this way? Here, play this clip.
Well, because he talked about kitchen table issues. Direct quote. He said, rent affordability. People are struggling to make ends meet. He talked about the basics of life, food. First of all, that's not what this person was talking about. Mamdani is talking about handouts. He's talking about gimmicks. He's diving in the Hudson while he wants everyone to have free everything. The reason older people think of socialism as breadlines is because they lived it, because they lived through World War II and through communist adventures that were utterly destructive and fatal.
Then Jesse Waters, and this is a whole lot of massage. This is gross. Jesse Waters starts referring to Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's dating status. And he goes, she's single. She's 43, never been married. I can set her up with someone, a white guy. Hopefully she's not upset if she dates a white guy, and maybe she'll be happier then. This is what they're talking about on Fox. This is what they're trying to pass as news. This is unabashedly deranged. Here, play this clip.
As far as Jasmine goes, I researched her, and it's never good when I do that. I found out she's single. She's 43. She's never been married. And I'm trying to figure out what makes her tick. I think I can set her up with someone.
Oh, my God.
I know a guy in D.C., Emily. He's white. Hopefully that's not a problem, but he will make her happy. And maybe then she will not hate everybody else besides herself so much. So if you're interested, I will set it up. And it would be my pleasure to do it.
Okay. Yes to that. We'll circle back on that.
What else is going on, too, that I want to share with you? Then you have Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture. She goes on Fox. And then she admits that Democrats are better at government than Republicans. Okay, play this clip.
What else can you tell us about her?
Well, here's what I know. Just from a bigger picture, the Democrats are just better at government than we are. They are duplicitous. They will do anything they can for the win, whether it's, within the legal bounds or not. And this is just one more example of how they use the process to win, but no more. I mean, President Trump represented a new day in Washington, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. And, it's not been conventional. He's very unconventional, but this is how he's gotten things done. And this is why the American people elected him and voted for him 3 different times now. But now the American people can see the hood has been lifted, right? We have a Democrat policy person that was appointed by a Democrat who's stopping big parts of the bill, and that has to change.
Yeah, like Jerome Powell on the economy, hurting our economy, and a Senate parliamentarian stopping progress on something so common sense.
And then finally, a Fox host asked Brooke Rollins, Americans don't really understand, why are you taking away their Medicaid and SNAP? And why are you stealing from the poor and giving it to the rich? That kind of angers Americans. And then Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, goes, you're just giving this a bad rap. She doesn't deny that that's what it does, because it's in the bill that that's what it's going to do. But anyway, here's what she says. Let's play it.
And the polls do show this. We got a whole bunch of polls that show this thing is not popular. I'm not talking about the farm part specifically. I'm talking about the Fox News poll shows that it's under 40% approval. When you look at the Quinnipiac poll, the Pew Research poll, these are all showing that few people favor this thing. 38% favor on the Fox poll. When it comes to the other ones, you can look at the Quinnipiac poll. That one has 53% opposing it. Only 27% support it. And then the Pew poll, here's the thing. a lot of Americans don't like this, even some people who voted for President Trump, for this reason, Madam Secretary, because they don't understand why the cuts have to come from programs like SNAP, like food stamps for the poor, and like Medicare for the poor. That is the problem. So can you make a connection between why that should be okay?
Well, I think it's really important to note that the entire media apparatus has been against this bill from the beginning. But here's what President Trump was elected to do. And I won't comment on Medicare or Medicaid. That's someone else's lane. But I can comment very specifically to food stamps, that at the end of the day, under Joe Biden, the food stamp program, which is the largest by far of any program at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, grew almost 40% under the insane spending of Joe Biden.
So that's what's going on Fox. Bizarre stuff, deranged stuff. So I got to fact check it with you. I want to show you what they're doing. I need to show you how the anatomy of the propaganda. Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.